Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? I'm not sure whether this mic's working properly.
It is. You might need it relatively close.
Let's try again. Can you all hear me? Yes. Right. Well, good evening and welcome to this meeting of Woodley Town Council, being held on the 30th of September 2025. Woodley Town Council meetings are now recorded, with recording streamed live and stored on the Town Council's YouTube channel. By virtue of attending the meeting, you consent to having your image recorded for this purpose. If you do not wish for your image and audio to be recorded, then please do not stay for the meeting. For those in attendance, we're not expecting a fire drill tonight, so if you hear the fire alarm, please head out of the nearest fire exit and congregate at the fire assembly point by the Oakwood Centre in front of Woodford Park. Prior to the meeting of full council, we hold the town forum, which is an opportunity for members of the public to pose any questions they may have to the council. This is limited to a maximum of 30 minutes. Do any members of the public in attendance? Michael, do you have any questions? No? Well, in the absence of any...
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question? I think we're allowed members of the council to ask questions. Public questions.
I have no objection to that.
Thank you. I wondered whether the town clerk could give us an update of the installation, or of the lack of the installation, of the closed circuit television cameras within the precinct. I'm particularly concerned, and I think maybe the council ought to follow this up with a question to Wokingham Borough Council at their full council meeting, which I believe we're now entitled to do, if that's in the agreement of this council. Why is it taking so long?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. There have been some issues with the installation. It has been delayed. It's been essentially down to issues with power supplies to the lamp columns, which have needed upgrading in order to install the cameras. I have pushed this today with the help of the officer from Wokingham Borough Council, Warren Keskins, who's assisted me with that. I have had some updated information today, so I'm on track that it is pushing ahead, and has said they intend to install in the next 4 weeks. That might be one camera that follows later, because it's waiting for replacement of a lamp column by Wokingham Borough Council, which was, again, part of what was holding that installation up. So that's how it is at the moment. We're expecting that installation to happen within the next 4 weeks.
Next 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Kennedy?
Well, it does, but I mean, I'm very disappointed with the answer. We as a council really, the installation of these cameras over a year ago, it's probably £50,000 for this project. And here we are, we're almost approaching Christmas, a year has gone by, and these cameras are not installed. I don't quite think it's good enough, and we should hold them at the borough council.
Councillor Baker.
It is absolutely appalling, and we've had, and I'll give the credit to Councillor Greg Bello, who's been pushing it hard. Even the leader of Wokingham Borough Council, Stephen Conway, has also been pushing it hard. He's committed in writing with emails saying that he's been pushing, and still we couldn't get this. And I think what is really appalling is if, we are small minions in this whole Wokingham Borough, but the leader of the Wokingham Borough Council could not get it pushed through at all. And that, to me, is the most disappointing thing, because you would expect the leader to have a certain amount of power, and that's not the fault of the individual there's something going wrong between councillors and officers. And hopefully now, from what Kevin said, things might be moving forward. But it should really, Wokingham Borough Council should be looking into why it's taken all this time, why the leader couldn't even get it pushed through of the council. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any more questions at all? No. Then, in the absence of any more questions, we will commence with the agenda. Prior to the formal agenda items tonight, I would like to welcome Dexter Levick and Warwick Heskins, both from Wokingham Town Council, who are Borough Council, sorry, who are to give us a presentation on the position of the Borough Council's town centre strategy.
Sideways out. Oh. Sorry, that's not brilliant. Yeah.
We all see that okay? Fantastic. Okay. Yeah. Do you want to change the skew a little bit? Appreciate it.
Not from here, I think is the answer.
Sorry.
That's not great.
Okay. All right. Let's. Well, thank you very much for having us here today. Again, my name is Dexter Levick. I'm the Economic Development Officer at Wokingham Borough Council. I'm very pleased to be joined with my colleague Warwick Heskins, who is a recently appointed Town Centre Officer who's already been working very closely. Yes, of course.
You can use this one. Dexter, yeah.
Is that better? Can we hear that? Yep. Press it. There we go. Okay, cool. Okay, can we all hear that at the back? Is that okay? Fantastic. Okay, so I'm not sure if you heard the first bit, but again, I'm Dexter Levick, Economic Development Officer at Wokingham Borough Council, and my colleague Warwick Heskins will be joining to talk through the second part of this presentation today on the Town Centre Strategy Action Plan for, in this instance, Woodley Town Council. We have one of these for each of our three main towns in the first instance, Wokingham, Woodley and Twyford, with the view of joining on Lower Early and perhaps Winnersh at a later date. So these action plans follow on from the Town Centre Strategy that was approved by Wokingham Borough Council in January of this year. And we've been working recently with the appointment of Warwick to develop these action plans, and obviously coming to you at Council today for feedback on these early sort of draft actions. So this is very much a sounding board opportunity for us at the Borough to really understand your concerns and if they chime with the findings of the strategy so far and the engagement we've done so far. So beginning with just sort of a couple of slides talking through summary findings of the strategy as they relate to Woodley, and I'll run through these. Hopefully you can see them on the screen. So this came about not just from the strategy itself, but also a resident and business survey we put out for Woodley residents at the time as part of it. So some of the things that came out of this, as a result of that was the perception of inequality of resource allocation, Woodley feeling overlooked compared to Wokingham Town Centre, a need for stronger collaboration and the opportunity to sort of improve partnership working between the town and borough councils. And I think from hearing comments earlier, we've already sort of spoken to the need for that, and that's something we very much recognise at a borough level. The lack of high street diversity, with residents desiring more independent shops and a broader retail offering. The need for that clear vision and strategy for Woodley specifically, a defined plan supported by data, and this is data that to a certain extent we hold at the borough level, things like footfall data, but also various other different tranches that we're very much looking to sort of feed in more to town councils and really build that rapport. It's something that we feel has been neglected perhaps in the past. The sort of changing consumer patterns post-COVID is a really important thing to sort of, oh, sorry, I think I've got an echo from, okay. So the changing consumer patterns post-COVID, how that's had an impact on the high street and what can sort of be done around that, the sort of shift to a more experiential aspect of our town centres. Local competitive positioning, so the concept that Woodley has a different offer to Reading, for example. It can't compete perhaps on big brands, but it focuses on more sort of service and family-friendly offerings, and demographic targeting and inclusivity. We're really looking sort of the predominant age group that came out of the surveys was 35 to 59 in terms of what it caters for, but a real need to cater for that younger 15 to 24 age group as well. And please feel free on Zoom to take photos, as I can see some people are. Continuing sort of on some of those findings, so support for creative and community activities. So we understand there's opportunities existing to expand activities with things like the Oakwood Centre from a sort of creative side of things. Also the stage outside is something that we're sort of working with Brian and hopefully yourselves as well to really add some value and improve upon. Parking charges and perceived impact on footfall. This is not a unique Woodley thing. It's of course been borough-wide. We know that parking charges have been an issue. There's of course the problem we had in terms of not raising parking charges for a while and then raising them sort of several years worth at a time, which I think perhaps made the issue, not that it's not important, of course it is, but it perhaps made it seem worse than it was at the time. Short duration of visits, so most people spending under an hour in Woodley according to the footfall data we've got, mainly for grocery shopping, and the sort of strategies need to encourage those longer visits, and that's something we're working on to try and boost those longer visits. Utilisation of community and performance spaces, again going back to the Oakwood Centre and the outdoor stage, which Warwick's been speaking to Brian about how we can best sort of assist with that at a borough level. Of course, on safety and antisocial behaviour concerns as well, we've got the antisocial behaviour team at Woking Borough Council, and we're working with the sort of Thames Valley Police and a sort of Woodley Town Centre partnership, which Warwick will speak to a little bit more, to really sort of try and address that as much as possible. Making sure that the residents in Woodley continually feel to have a strong connection with the town, and preserving this, make sure that we have the sort of basic upkeep and superficial improvements, things like lampposts, things like benches, the built environment, making sure that it's as attractive of an area as it can possibly be, and how the borough can assist with that where possible. And that ties in with the sort of public-private partnership of the maintenance of that, so working with private landlords rather, to enhance and maintain the town's appearance and its functionality. So the next 3 slides I'll pass over to my colleague. Now, I should say these are really sort of draft actions. We're very much looking for input on these to make sure that it's really sort of chiming with your views as councillors, but also as residents. We want to make sure that these actions that go into the final version of the developed action plan are really rooted in the community. It's crucially important, and that's why we have a different action plan for Wokingham and Twyford and Woodley, because they're all 3 areas that are fundamentally very different and require different approaches. So I'll pass over to Warwick, and absolutely, and I'll recirculate the town centre strategy for Woodley as well, which I think has been pushed out too early this year, but I'll share that as part of a slide pack, so absolutely.
Is there any opportunity to the public to, are you going to give the survey on this one to find the people can give the views and the local community and these are
Yes, so for the when we originally did the strategy, we did put out a survey for both residents and for businesses. This is obviously moving on to the action plan now, so we're very much looking to engage with you guys. Whether we do a survey for the action plan or not, we haven't decided yet, but if that's something that you'd be interested in, we can perhaps look to work on that as well. But we did have survey work, obviously, and that's where the findings came from initially.
Thank you.
No problem.
Sorry. When you did the survey before, was it all online or was it? people going to?
I believe it was online. I can double check for you.
The majority, well, quite a lot of Woodley would not be able to do it online. There's a lot of people that don't go online. Do you feel that you could actually find some way of actually talking to the people and, they feel rightly that they are excluded and that Wokingham takes over precedence over Woodley. And I think they've always felt that way. So I think it's something that's needed to be addressed.
Yeah, it's something I can certainly take on board. I mean, I completely appreciate that there are barriers with using just digital means. We need to have approach from a borough level that's consistent, and I agree with you. I completely take that concern. It's something I'll escalate because it's not just for these strategies, it's for all of the work we do, and it's vital that we have our residents engaged across all means. So yes, I'll certainly escalate it.
Not even old people that can't do technology. Kate's reminded me of something where there was a survey which happened about 4 years ago. And I can't for the life of me remember what it was. And a lot of my clients were the more elderly generation. And they had to go online to log in to do something, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
So I wrote to our MP at the time, which is Theresa May. I also wrote to the Chief Executive of Wokingham Council, and I think it was a lady at the time.
Okay.
And she replied to me and took it all on board and said, we will make sure that those that do not have an online presence will not be excluded. It was all about parity and having people the ability to take part, and I do hope that there is a card or a prepaid postage survey for people, because we're disenfranchising, I don't know, quarter of the population of Woodley, perhaps. Just look around this room. Some fossils here today.
No, it's. I don't know if you want.
I'm not to prolong this, but just a minor medical. Twyford is not a town. There's only 3 towns. It's
Correct.
Wokingham and Woodley, but I can understand you. Early does not have a town centre. Twyford does. So just if you're giving this to other people, just be careful.
You're absolutely correct.
Going on to the survey, the consultation. I spent many, many years as a professional marketeer, and you're right. What you need to do is remove barriers to participation. So the first barrier you've just heard about, and I do believe there was an address that you had to proactively contact people, contact WBC to get the survey and then respond it. Any professional marketeer will tell you that is not just one barrier, it's about 4. Secondly, for people who were digitally illiterate, you then put in another barrier, which was you not allow you to participate in the consultation until you set up an account. All right? That makes a lot of people very edgy. They don't want to give their information to a council. And just to give you an example, back in 2022, there was a consultation about a cycleway, right, going from Church Road over the top, all the way down, heading through Woodlands Avenue. Okay, and originally there was this requirement to put you had to have an account. The returns were average to poor. I managed to get the executive member for highways at the time to get that removed. The return doubled, trebled. They got over 1,200 responses. That's probably one of the biggest barriers. It's just a bureaucracy. You do not need to have an account in order to participate in a survey or a consultation. And residents out there actually hate it. It just feeds to their paranoia that you do this to block people because you just want to ignore what they want to say.
Okay. No, not at all. And it's a very valid point, and I'd like to understand from, and this is something for us to do internally, why that barrier was reinstated. It sounds like, because it sounds like it wasn't there for that survey. My understanding from what we do currently is that that's the same for all of our surveys. Having this account, it's not just for this one. I will make the point to go away and understand why that is the case. Yeah, it's not something, just to be clear, that we decided to do specifically for this survey, but I completely accept your points because I can understand it's a barrier and we have had the discussion previously, but yeah, so.
Just to sort of provide, but perhaps a few alternatives. We very successfully ran a survey through Woodley Town Council for our leisure services and youth services provision. We got a tremendous response because that was an easy way that we presented it to the local residents. So, please take advantage of our town council team to see if you can leverage something similar.
Of course.
Have something in libraries, put up a pop-up in Woodley Precinct, maybe a couple of weekends, a couple of Saturdays, get a bit of engagement that way as well. Encourage people to fill it in, pen and paper. I know it sounds old-fashioned, but actually for a lot of people that's far simpler than setting up an account and trying to fill it online. It's fine for me maybe and other people, but not for many people, certainly in the age group that you were referring to. So I do think that that might be some options that you could consider as you get into this next phase. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. The councillor has rather preempted my usual question about copies of the slides. So
yeah, we'll circulate these.
And let's be honest, I agree with Councillors Hoskins and Baker about the accessibility of these systems, because it's the usual thing I've always raised in the past. You are actually disenfranchising so many people by putting so many barriers. And Councillor Baker's absolutely right. I mean, I hate it when I see a count. I just don't want to do it. Walk away, I'm not interested. So I think that's the key point. But just going back to where you're having a strategy about encouraging people to shop longer than 1 hour in Woodley, and then above it you've got car parking charges. The obvious example is to roll back the car parking charges. They are scandalous, they are too much, and it is killing town centres, not just here in Woodley, but also Wokingham as well. It's a bad idea. We need to get the shops going and also have free evenings like we used to have before. Thank you.
Thank you.
One more thing, just about that age range. So I was very interested to see that you had very little engagement with younger people. And I think that's really quite telling. There are a lot of young people in Woodley, sort of 20s, late teens. So I would ask that you think about that demographic and think about how you're going to get to them. There isn't a great deal of presence on, Instagram or anywhere else. Really. And I think these are the residents of the future. It's really important that
Absolutely.
we engage them in some way. And that maybe is a different type of event, but I think it's equally as important as the individuals that maybe don't want to use technology. I'm not sure it's the right technology.
No, I think it's a very valid point. Thank you.
I would like to just reiterate what Councillor Smith said. Presence in the precinct by WBC on this would bring about a positive response, I'm certain. If you had it on sort of 5 consecutive days, 4 or 5 consecutive days, receiver in the precinct, you must include Saturday because you've got the market there.
Of course.
But I think you would be amazed at the response that you get.
Okay.
Going on to what Councillor Jones has said about the car parking charges, one way to increase the length of time spent in the precinct is actually to make the first 2 hours free.
Yep.
That would encourage people to come into Woodley.
Okay, thank you.
but as the author of the freezing of car parking charges for all those years, I thought I would have the opportunity to tell you why that was the policy. And you actually had it there, part of it, on one of your previous slides about Woodley could not compete with the lexicons, and it wasn't there at that time, or the oracles. And our strategy, which I designed and had support of the councillors and officers, the strategy was don't try and compete, because you're never going to compete. Find some other way to encourage people to come in. And the simple way we did it, it's not rocket science, is we made sure that our car parking charges were lower. Not 1p lower, but significantly lower. It was cheaper for people to come here to go and shop in Iceland, in Waitrose, in Boots, in Specsavers, all top name brands. You can get an Oracle, you can get an Lexicon. And you know what? It worked. The car parking figures consistently for Woodley outstripped Wokingham, right? Anywhere else within Wokingham Borough. I don't mean it was 1%. It was 10 to 15 to 20%. It was the most successful. You've got 4 of them, right?
Yeah, of course.
It was the most successful set of car parks in the whole of the borough. It wasn't one size fits all. And unfortunately, I'm sure I'm going to see it, and it's not your fault, because all large councils do it. Concentrate on a one size fits all. And you need to think about what the impact of that. The evening, we generated a superb evening economy. We've got some great restaurants. Those charges have been hitting them hard. Because why would you come here pay for a car park when you can go to the Wee Waste, for instance?
Yeah.
Or another place who have their own car parks. You've always, for the car parking, you've always got to have in the back of your mind, what is the incentive to come to your car park? And that's been disappeared. And I was a little bit disappointed about your comment, well, we didn't increase it by inflation, etc. That was a deliberate policy, and it worked. Sorry.
No, thank you. And to your point around avoiding a one-size-fits-all approach, that's very much what we're trying to do with these strategies. We have a different one for our towns and our parishes, each of the 3 that we've mentioned. So on car parking, it doesn't sit specifically with our team, but it's something that we will speak about because we are aware of the impact it has. Obviously, it's a decision that wasn't made by myself and my colleague here, and let's be quite frank. I mean, it does generate money for the council, and that's why the car parking charges are what they are. But I completely understand the barriers it creates and the frustration it creates. And as a Woodley resident myself, I have seen, the car parking charges. It's not something that's alien to myself. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate the points, and we'll take away what we can.
Okay. Can I speak up for the disabled people?
Of course.
Okay, something in Woodley. I'm a resident in Woodley as a town councillor. Until recently, I've never shopped in Woodley. Okay, and I'm only shopping in Woodley now under protest because I'm not allowed to drive anymore. But it's really difficult. Okay, the precinct isn't level. Okay, there are lots of trip hazards within it. If you go to the car parking, there are no attendants in the car park to actually assist with help get wheelchairs in and out of it and that. There's no shop mobility available. Okay, even if you only have a part-time shop mobility that works 2 days a week or 3 afternoons or something, you can attract a lot more disabled people into a town centre if they know that they can get a scooter that can actually assist them to their shop. Okay? And the same with the elderly, elderly disabled. Once they begin to have problems walking, they will use chocolate as well. Okay, but I can give you a list of the things that are to try. The elderly disabled into the town centre.
No, it would be really useful if you could, thank you, because we can feed this into our active travel teams, because we are very aware of sort of accessibility concerns, not just in Woodley, but Twyford as well. We get this consistently.
Take my phone number off.
Of course, yeah, I will do.
Get in touch.
Yeah, because it's a part of, well, we certainly want it to be a part of these action plans, because accessibility is hugely important for our towns. So thank you, appreciate that.
I'm going to call Paul for the questions now.
No, it's good that it's generated discussion. Thank you.
Warwick is
Indeed. There's only 3 more slides, I promise. But no, thank you for all your comments. It's genuinely really appreciated.
Quite quickly, because I think a lot of the things on here have probably already been covered by some of the questions as well. So, so just to introduce myself. So I'm Warwick Heskins. I'm the new town centre officer for Wokingham Borough. I've been in post for 6 weeks. Ish, yeah, something like that. A few weeks now. So it's coming to me. I'm localish as well. So I ex-Wangels boy and everything. So I do know the area well. So I'm not haven't been transported in from some other side of the country. So the strategy, as Doug's just gone through, was created and approved in January. I think it was January time. So. And now I'm in post, we're looking at actioning it. So I've started putting together, and I said this is just starting, so it's early days. So we're putting the actions for Woodley. I've been having a lot of chats with Brian and some of the business owners within Woodley as well to start putting this together. So if I just go through a few of these, so they're very high level at the moment, and they do go into more detail behind them. I just want to skip through the high level at the moment. So the first one is we had encourage pride and place by maintaining the street scene and attractiveness of the town centre. So the main ways we can do that, I want to look at rejuvenating and revitalise the town centre. When I say rejuvenate, that's looking at the ongoing issue of the lampposts need painting, some of the bollard needs repairing, the benches, some of the benches have been removed and not put back, which is an ongoing problem. And so it was all those kind of things to make the place look nice for when people do come in. Looking at the accessibility, as we just said, of the whole of the town and the car parks. Investigate if there are any flooding issues in the car parks, and look at having a complete audit of all the paving slabs to make sure they are all level. So these all fall part of that into the action plan. And then on the longer term, we're looking at see whether there's any possibility of a long-term regeneration of the town centre. So as you said, in the past it seems to everything's happened in Wokingham and Woodley's been left out. So basically I want to make sure it's Woodley's turn now. So we're going to try and put something together for regeneration in Woodley. But obviously that's going to be a long-term issue.
Warwick, sorry, can I just quickly interrupt you?
Yeah, of course.
In terms of the short term, I mean, obviously very high level, I assume that you've got some KPIs behind this. But short term, some of this will require funding. So do you have an initial budget to enable you to do some of these things, like carry out feasibility study, do paint the lampposts, that sort of thing, short term? I get the medium to long term will require a lot of funding and we're not there yet, but do you have a short term budget in mind?
Well, I mean, there is a slight budget there. One of my jobs is to look at funding streams. So as well as putting the action together, I've got to identify the funding streams to be able to put some of this in place. Some of it, like the lamppost painting, should already be there because I think that's been on the agenda for a couple of years and I need to find out what's blocking it. So some things are new, some things have been going on for ages, and I need to find where in the council it's been blocked. So I'm going to look at the blockages and see whether we can move things along that should have been moved in before.
And that would be very helpful in the how column to put where the funding is coming from and how it's been allocated, because I guess you never know how long people are going to be in jobs and this stuff will be hanging around. So it would be really good to get a decent plan against it.
Yep.
The stuff behind it, but just the high level stuff even now, it would have saved me asking that question if it had said already allocated funds already in somebody else's budget, But, you know, I don't, even though it's high level, I wouldn't be promising any of this, and you know where the funds are coming from.
As well. It's important because what WBC has here with Woodley residents is lack of credibility. And you know, I just heard, I would not want you to go out there and say to a resident, if they ask you, have you got a budget for, well, I'm going to be looking and seeing where I can get in here. Please don't say that. They want to hear, yes, I've got this budget. It's not as big as we'd like it, but I've got a budget. Until you do that sort of thing, anything you say is you're gonna be fighting, you know, pushing uphill, because the credibility, to use the American phrase, is vastly underwater. You know, I'm not saying it's your fault. There's a lot of reasons why, but you've got to have those budgets. Because until you have the budgets, we won't believe. Or,
you know, equally, some of this can be done without a budget. Some of this is collaboration, goodwill, community cohesion, all the rest of it. Just think you need to point people to where the work's going to be done. That's all.
Yeah, and that will be. There's extra columns going on this. As literally, as I said, this is early days. We wanted the kind of feedback before we go into all this. We won't be going out to the public saying we're going to do this until there is all that funding and everything in place, if there is going to be the funding in place. But to go get the funding, we've got to get the ideas and then go to internally and say, this is what we want to do. Of this, what can we do and what can't we do? But we need to get to, this is what we want to do first before we can get to that stage. So, and that's where we are at the moment. It's just trying to get the...
You need to unmute yourself.
You're on mute, Kester.
Yeah, I just about hear you all at the moment. Evening, everyone. I can just hear you. I think Keith's right about the budget and credibility, because a lot of people say they're doing things that don't have the budget in place. But I mean, you're doing the right stuff by getting the feedback and moving forward from there. A bit similar to the Thanks for Everything We Will Part that needs a lot of work doing to it, but needs a lot of consultation for a budget can be put in place. But I can hear you loud and clear, and carry on.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. Yeah, as I said, these are all going to be exactly the same. So we've got nurture and support cultural activities. I think that's really important, trying to get some arts and into the centre. You've got the fantastic stage area in the centre. I've been talking to Brian about one of the ideas he has that we're going to try and get funding for. Obviously, I won't say anything until they do. Is we do the lighting in the stage area inside, so we can put some things on in the evening, so help the nighttime economy as well. So it's not just used in the daytime, and try and get it used more. Speak to local groups to try and get in there. And also, I think we're trying to help to get some budget for the theatre here as well. Encourage a wider diversity of businesses catering for everyone in the town, including expanding appropriate evening and nighttime economy. So again, this is we're looking at the electrical posts to see whether we can expand the market. And I think that's one of the things on Brian's list that we're trying to put in. We're looking at evening markets and looking at maybe ideas for people to have pop-up trial markets or stalls to see whether it's something they want to do into a store later in the day. So we give people kind of free spots or subsidised spots in the market, so they can see if it's something they want to do and it's something they could progress to owning a retail store in the future.
Can I just interrupt? So that objective is around diversity of businesses. Is it around diversity of businesses in the market? Because diversity of businesses to me means shops, but the how is all about markets.
It is at the moment, yeah. But I'm still, as I said, I'm still putting this together, so we just got to this stage at the moment. But there will be things in there about the retail stores as well. But Woodley is really lucky at the moment because it's hardly got any empty units. I think there's two up one end of town and then the NatWest Bank, and I think that's the only two empty units at the moment anyway. So,
I mean,
which is a real positive.
You know, if that's some sort of action plan, the objective has got to be reflected in the rest of it. And I appreciate this is early days, but that just doesn't make sense. You know, if you're going to write diversity businesses, then that's about ground rent, that's about diversification, that's about incentives, that's all the rest of it. Just change the objective. You know, if you want to grow the market and you want to grow evening trading, change the objective, but try and make it cohesive.
Yep, definitely.
Because I guess you're going to go on to the next slide soon. There's a point I'd like to make on RISEC carried out a feasibility study in the long-term regeneration of the town centre. Okay, fully support that, but when you do that, can you have in the back of your mind, the side of your mind, the front of the mind, wherever, this key point: we are not like Wokingham Town. Wokingham Town could do a regeneration, because where they did the regeneration, their major anchor stores weren't there, right? So Waitrose wasn't there, Boots wasn't there. They weren't there, so you could easily demolish and rebuild. Woodley Town Centre is not like that, and the last thing you want to do is to demolish it, because I can tell you, Waitrose will go, won't come back. Iceland will go, won't come back. Boots will go and won't come back, because the development is going to take at least 6 months, probably nearer 18 months. And, you know, these big anchor stores, they're not going to turn, you know, they're not going to turn around and say, oh, that's okay, I can wait 18 months and I'll come back. No, they're all gone. So, to me, absolutely key to the regeneration is how do you do it without impacting those anchor stores? And when you look at it, what we have here with those anchor stores used to be little banks, and we used to have more banks and what do you call it, than the whole of Wokingham and Twyford combined. Right? That tells you something. You use the statistics about the two shops. Talk to Brian. We have been the lowest void from national statistics in probably the whole of Berkshire for 10 years. There's a reason for that, and you need to keep that in. You know, we're not just, oh, okay, we've got two. I'm sure you know all this, but I just wanted to get the point about keeping those anchor stores, because it ain't going to work. If you could do just for instance the top end, slice the front and redo the front, I think that's almost all you need to do. Thank you.
Yeah, totally agree. That's okay.
I not long ago received a text from or a message from a business who wanted to come into Woodley, but the thing that was stopping him was that there was no free parking at all. And he said without at least an hour free parking, he won't be able to afford to come into Woodley as a business. And that shows you where businesses are coming from. We're doing really well in Woodley. We know that because the Woodley people support the shops as much as they can. But when it comes down to it, it's all money, and car parking is one of the biggest ones. Henley gives a 2 hours, 1 hour free parking. 1 hour, you know, they can afford it. You know, why can't Wokingham?
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask that we let Warwick finish his presentation, because the time is moving on.
No, it's really good feedback. It's really good feedback.
An extensive agenda to get through. So please, if you've got any extra comments, I'm sure we can email the questions to you?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
We'll be sharing these slides.
Yeah.
Even if you've spoken on something today and there's something that you want to add, please do get in touch because we really do want to have it reflected.
And I do think, I will stop, I do think there is something about having a face-to-face conversation like this. Maybe this isn't the time, but I would suggest we try and agenda a proper meeting where we get a couple of hours with you just to discuss it. Because we don't want to be combative, but we live it as you. You know, we know what our residents want. They've elected us. So I think it's really worth just trying to get under the bonnet with us a little bit. And it's great talking to Brian, but Brian has a view. And that's Brian's view. You know, it would be great to get a representative sample, which is us, so that we can support that. And I think an evening or an afternoon, whatever you want to do. But it's great to get email questions. But the whole face-to-face, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's something.
We've been invited to TCMI on the 15th of October, so all of us could go along there and ask more questions.
Yep. Okay. Let me whiz through this last one. This last one. Yeah. Last slide. Yeah. Again, to strengthen its local brand identity and build on its loyal customer base, which we've just discussed that it has got a loyal customer base and a really good one. But we kind of want to look at branding, see whether we can get. And I know when I chat to Brian, the Woodley Town Centre website's gonna disappear. I think was that right? Yeah. I think when Brian said it was going to kind of
disappear.
Well, disappear. It's going to be merged into the town council website. I think. Yeah.
Enhanced, would it be?
Yeah. So we're looking into seeing what we can do with that as well to get some branding on Woodley. I've got on there to carry out feasibility for the formation of a Woodley Business Improvement District, which has been discussed before. I know previously, and it was decided that Woodley was too small on its own. I want to reinvestigate that myself with see whether we can do a kind of joint one with Wokingham to so we can get the extra levy in and income in. I had 4 years of I was a chair of Newbury Business Improvement District in the past, and so I do see how important they are, and if we can do anything here with that, I think it'd be really good. And then work in partnership with Woodley Town Council, Woodley Town Partnership and a range of stakeholders. That's basically my job now. So I am going to be, you talk about wanted to talk, I'm at the end of a phone call. I will come in, I will be at your beck and call. If you want to talk to me, ask me any questions, I will come in. I'll be going to all the partnership groups and workshops. I'm happy to come here every month, any of the meetings, anything you need. I'm looking at producing a monthly newsletter, which will be going to the businesses and the retailers in the town centre, talking about footfall, talking about any changes in industry, anything on the retail side, anything from the nighttime economy industry, and just trying to put information out there to help the businesses in the town. I attend all the retail crime, Thames Valley Police retail crime meetings as well, so I can feedback all that. I want regular meetings with the Thames Valley Police about security and policing in the town centre. So I'll be there. But please, any questions, contact me. I will come in at any time, any day, even any evening, just to come in and have a chat with any of you, all of you, one of you. I don't mind, but I'm here. That's my role now. I'm a town centre officer, so I'm here to support.
Yes. Thank you so much, Warwick and Dexter.
Very, very quickly. The exec member for economic development, right, who runs a business here, did his best efforts to get bid in Woodley. You don't think about that. I'm sure you're talking to him, and he will tell you the ins and outs of why it was not successful.
Yeah, thank you.
But thank you both for coming. It's been very interesting. One thing I would ask, can these slides please be sent to us as soon as possible, because there's a number on this committee tonight who are on the Town Centre Management Partnership, and I think we would all be interested in those before the next meeting on the 15th of October.
Yeah, not a problem at all.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Right.
Oh, fine. Yeah. Right. Amazing.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for that. I thought that was most interesting discussion. It's certainly something for us all to think about. So we will now. Now, I'm really sorry to have brought that to an abrupt halt, but it's now 10 to 9, and we've got a fairly extensive agenda here to get through. So we'll proceed, please, with the main agenda. First item on the agenda is apologies. Kevin.
Thank you, Chair. I have apologies from councillors Rowland, Lewis, Chadwick, Stowe, Bellow, and Charles Bay. And just to note, Councillor Charles Bay, we know he joined us virtually.
Right, thank you. And the second item on the agenda is declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest from councillors regarding any items on tonight's agenda, please? Nope. Then we'll move on to item 3, which is minutes of the council, full council held on the 24th of June. The minutes of which are included with this agenda on page 9. Are there any questions or comments regarding these? No, then assuming we're happy with these, can we please move to a vote on accepting these minutes as a true and correct record? Can all those in favour please raise their hands?
That's 15-4.
Can all those against please raise their hands? Can all those who wish to abstain please raise their hands?
Two abstentions.
Right, the minutes have duly been approved as a true and correct record, and I will sign these after the meeting. Next item are the action and follow-ups, which are provided at Appendix 4 on page 23 of the agenda. Does anyone have any questions or comments about these, June?
Short description on you had a short description of what reserve was for. In the meantime, I've been on course for budgeting and the councillors, and within the section around earmark reserve and some good practice which I just want to share with you. We want to consider making sure that we're consistent with that. So they're saying good practice that each will have to be linked to a specific project. So it shouldn't just be a water test that's stuck in the general area. And that would be linked to the president that we go to talk is still one of them. And I think is that we useful to have is a stop when the reserve actually was created. And also, if we get to the end of it, I would
Thank you.
Can I just comment? I think that sounds perfectly sensible. That's something we can do.
Right. Are there any more comments or questions on the actions and follow-up? Are there any that you wish to highlight, Kevin?
Not particularly, only to know that there's a few that will be rounded up there in the meeting of the standing financial regulations subcommittee, which we now have a date for.
Right. Okay, thank you. We now come on to item 5, which is composition of the council. Item 5A is to note that Councillor Nagra has resigned from the Labour group and that he, along with Councillor Charles Bay, have formed a new group called the Independent Group. Item 5B is to note that this change means the composition of the council is now 17 Conservative group members, 4 Labour group members, 2 Liberal Democrat group members, and 2 Independent group members. And that is just for noting. Political group leaders, item 6 on the agenda, is for the council to note the appointment of a leader and deputy leader for the newly formed independent group. Can I please ask Councillor Nowgraf to advise us of these appointments? Thank you.
Councillor Castor will be chair and I will be deputy.
Could you repeat that, Councillor Nowgraf? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, Councillor Castor is group leader and I am deputy.
Right, okay. So Castor's leader, Marjad, deputy. Thank you. Those appointments will be noted, Councillor Albra. Right, item 7, actually terms of reference of standing orders. And you've got a lot of figures under there showing the number of places available on each committee. As explained in the agenda, item 7 is to consider changing the number of places as stated in the terms of reference for each of the 3 standing committees to allow political proportionality to continue to be applied following the change of composition to the council noted in item 5. Can I ask, first of all, do any councillors have any questions regarding this? Or would any councillors like to propose a change? Councillor Hoskins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to propose that we go to 9 total committee members.
Do I have a seconder for that? No. Thank you. So can we go to a vote, please? All those in favour? Thank you. All those against?
There's none against.
And all those abstaining?
You hear the vote?
Voted.
Yes. Sorry, Chair, can you ask?
Abstentions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Which is we've gone to the vote on number 9. So item B, following the change in numbers, we now need to note any changes to the appointment of the places.
Yes.
Can I, with 9 agreed, can I please ask the Conservative group to advise of the members who will be standing down from each of the standing committees?
Thank you. I'm standing down from planning. Councillor Lewis is standing down from leisure. And Councillor Hoskins is reluctantly standing down from SNR. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask the Labour group now, please, for...
Yes, I'm not the other way if you stay. So I'm going to say this will be wrong. Oh, sorry. My dad always says my voice is
Leisure services, yeah, Yvonne Edwards will be staying on there. Planning and community will be Parvinder Singh, and strategy and resources will be Greg Bellow.
Obviously, there's no change in the allocation for the Liberal Party, but can I ask the independent group, please, to advise of the members who will be appointed to the standing committees?
In resources committee, Councillor Kester.
Yeah. Yes.
In leisure, I will be there. And for planning, we will give name later on.
Okay.
Thank you. Right, thank you. All those have been noted. So item 7C is for the council to approve changes to the terms of reference for the Bullmarsh SULV Joint Subcommittee and Woodley Town Centre Partnership. This relates to requests made at previous full council meetings to increase the number of places on these committees from 2 to 3 members. With all these changes already discussed and agreed by both Early Town Council and the Town Centre Partnership in relation to the respective committees. As set out in the agenda, unfortunately, it's not possible to apply political proportionality to committees with 3 places, following the change to political proportionality. The agenda, therefore, recommends that the Council approve the suspension of Standing Order 2.2 regarding political proportionality for both of these committees to enable the number of places to be set at 3. Can I ask, do any councillors have any questions regarding this, or would any councillors like to propose these changes?
I'd like to propose these changes, Chair.
Right. In a second.
So I can just confirm, so we're just leaving it as it is?
We're leaving it as it is. Okay.
So the
Yeah.
Right.
Standing Order 2.2.
So in that case, can we please move to a vote to approve the suspension of Standing Order 2.2 regarding political proportionality? Can all those in favour please raise their hands?
It's unanimous, Chair. Continue. Thank you.
All right. Can all those against please raise their hands?
That's none.
Can all those who wish to abstain please raise their hands?
That's none. Thank you.
Thank you. In that case, the change has been approved. Moving on to 7D, following the decision on item 5C, we now need to confirm whether there are any changes to the appointments to these committees. For reference, each of these committees already has 3 members appointed, with 1 previously appointed as a substitute. As such, the appointments may continue without change if appropriate. At present, the appointments are as follows. For the Bullmarsh SULV Joint Subcommittee, the 3 appointed members are Councillors Erawar, Gilder and Taylor. For the Woodley Town Centre Partnership, the 3 appointed members are Councillors Baker, Holmes and Singh. Does anyone wish to propose any changes to these appointments? Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Basically, a change to the Woodley Town Centre Partnership. I will be stepping down after a long, long time on that partnership, and you very kindly agreed to take my place.
Right. Thank you. Are there any other appointees or changes? Right, okay. So moving on to item 8. It's to consider a request from Councillor Chadwick for a 6-month leave of absence due to the need for her to care for her father. Can I please ask if we have a proposer and seconder for this? Keith propose, Alison second.
Thank you.
In that case, can we move to a vote, please? Can all those in favour please raise their hands?
Thank you, Chair. 17-4.
Can all those against please raise their hands?
It's none.
All those wishing to abstain please raise their hands.
It's none. Thank you.
In that case, the leave of absence for Councillor Chadwick has been approved. Item 9, finance update, is to note the budgetary control update provided on page 25 of the agenda.
Darren can introduce that now.
Yeah, Darren, I'll pass it over to you.
Everyone, sorry, Mike.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I was just going to make one comment. I don't know about what other councillors think, but I find it very difficult to get a handle on what is 0.036 million. I think it would be a lot easier if we just said how many thousands it would be.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I was going to introduce the report first and foremost, and we'll cover that off in a second. So it is a new report format, okay? So it's very narrative driven. The idea is to enable people with perhaps not strong financial skills to try and understand what financial position constitutes. The figures will stay in that format to make them small rather than large, but I take your point, we can report them in thousands rather than a decimal of a million. It's the first iteration of this report, so happy to take those comments back, so I can take that back and amend that. This report is definitely a very high level report for this particular meeting. What SNR will receive will be a much meatier report that goes a lot more in depth, and it'll be supported by a lot of figures, so questions can be asked at that meeting as required if they can at this meeting, but obviously it won't delve into the detail. So the main change with this report is that it provides a year-end, a forecast of the year-end position rather than a position statement of where we are now. Okay, and that year-end position, that's formulated based on the transactional data that's in the accounts, and so it's built from the bottom up. So then we start looking at trend and forecasts, what we know is going to happen, put some assumptions in the mix, and then we'll make a forecast from that. And obviously, as things begin to crystallise, that may change, but that will be picked up in subsequent reports. So it should give you an indication of the direction of travel rather than just where we are now. So hopefully aid decision making in that respect. Okay, so in terms of the headline position, we are reporting an adverse variance of £36,000. Okay, so that's additional spend of £36,000 this year. However, I just want to point out that that is predominantly because of a reporting anomaly from previous year linked to the Memorial Garden. So once we take that into account, the actual variance is a small favourable variance, £6,000. So coming back to the Memorial Garden, there was a net spend of £42,000 that wasn't included in this reporting format in previous years. It was sat on the balance sheet. So people who were in the accounting knowledge might not know what that means, but we've now brought it into visibility. It's not cash implication because the money's already been spent. It's just bringing that out. So fundamentally speaking, say that in terms of in-year activity, it's a very small favourable variance. The other headline position to note is on the general reserve, because we finished last year in a better position than you anticipated when you set the budget. Even though there has been this adverse movement this year,
you're actually £70,000 better off in terms of the general reserve, or we think we will be by the end of the year, based on what we know now. Okay, but this is ever evolving. So any new intelligence that comes through the office, we immediately record that and capture that, and that will be factored into the next report that goes to SNR. Okay. So that's it in a nutshell. And obviously there are some supporting figures in the tables that accompany the report. I don't intend to go through those now, but if you've got any questions, I can try and do my best to answer them. What we've also added to the report is a section that we called horizon scanning. So we're looking at future events that may crystallise in the current year, may crystallise next year, or may crystallise further down the line. So it's just to bring those to your attention. One of the immediate things we can't quite quantify yet, but we know it's going to happen, is the triennial review of the pension scheme. So we know that that's going to change the level of contribution that we will make as an employer from the 1st of April. What we don't know yet is how much. We should find out in November, December time. That's when they should publicise it. But for your benefit, the current contribution rate is 27.2%. What we pay on every salary. If that goes up by 1 percentage point, that's about £9,000 per year for this authority.
Darren, just one silly question. I presume horizon scanning has nothing to do with the post office.
Yes.
Maybe a better name can be found for that. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions at all? June.
I've got three. I'm very interested, actually, in the content report, and I did have a look at the one that was circulated to SNR that was obviously going to be postponed. And in particular, well, actually, firstly, I have to say I'm a bit of a dummy, and I actually followed it. So thank you very much for that. And then looking at the conclusion, you note that strategic forward planning, careful reserve management and transparent communication with councillors and residents will be key to maintaining financial resilience. And this to me, points to the work we're doing just generally about improving our budgeting process. So I've got some sort of questions about that. The first one is, I wonder whether we could just have an update on where we are with the new process that we signed off in April. Are we on track with where we thought we'd be by now? And because according, I think on the table, we should be reviewing the results of the consultation and also consulting with councillors as to their sort of priorities and issues. So just wondered where we were with that.
Yes, we are on track with that. That information will be circulated this week on the consultation responses, and I'll be working out the mechanism, the data for that members' feedback from that. In terms of the process, we're slightly ahead from where we would normally have been. So in this November cycle of strategy and resources, members will see that more detailed report, and again with that year-end view, and also with provisional budgets, which you wouldn't normally see until January when you're kind of making the decision. So it would just roll that whole process back a cycle so that members see that information much earlier, and we're on track to do that. We're working out format, and these reports will change as we go, and we'll take that feedback from members about how you want to see things and what information you might like. So that I think that will change.
To my second question, or can I?
Let me go to Keith, because Keith, you had a question as well.
Just on national factors, and I think you've missed a very key one, particularly with what's going to happen in November, I think it is. And I don't know how you phrase this, but it's almost unusual government action. So, for instance, when they did the national insurance increase, and then they did something else, etc. And to my mind, this government's doing some things that nobody's ever done before. I'm not going to say whether it's right or wrong. And I think you need to add that in, because all I can see on here, the only thing was business rates and council tax reform. I think it's more than that. Who knows what's going to come. I don't know how you phrase it, but I think you just need to put out extra bullet. Because a future government, which could be a full government, it could be a Lieutenant government or whatever, could do something similar. We don't know, but it is a national factor.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And June, you.
Right. Next question was, we hear about strategic forward planning, and I wonder whether anybody got any insights on what processes we need to put in place to support that.
I think the thing that sort of prompted me to think about this was I sat in on an S&R meeting in April. That's one of the best birthdays I've ever had, I have to say. And we were in a scenario there where in February we'd agreed a budget, and April, £95,000 of expenditure on pergola came in from left field. And this is like no budget process that I've ever experienced before, in that it just seemed to come out of the blue. I'd have expected that, given that it was only February that we agreed budget. So this is kind of, what do we need to do to stop that happening again?
Yeah, we've looked at that. I'm very conscious of that particular project and the feedback that we got from councillors in relation to that. The funding for that was from the capital programme earmarked reserve, so the money was already set aside for projects. But that said, my intention going forward is that in the report that goes to S&R each time, the capital expenditure, so for all projects, including those that have not yet been funded, will be included within that. So that's flagged up much sooner in the process. And then essentially, if it's not included in the capital programme for that year, it won't go in unless it's something particularly urgent or there's an opportunity that's that needs to be seeded in that sense. But other than that, and that's something from officer side really about some of those projects that actually, if we're organised, we know what needs to be spent or for that budget year. That goes into that process. Members are aware of that so that doesn't happen mid-year.
Right. Keith.
On that, I think we've got a word of caution. We're all very careful. Processes are fine, but you don't want to create a process that puts a straitjacket on officers putting forward proposals. And I'm interested to see when you flesh it out, when you said that if it's not on that list, it doesn't happen unless it's an emergency. I would have a problem with that on the basis of, if there's something that our residents would like to have or need to have, and we have the capital money there to pay for it, why shouldn't the councillors make the decision whether that goes forward or not? It shouldn't be, take further. I think everybody's going, all the residents, I think, will actually be very pleased that that's going to actually happen. We have the money for it. No, we're not pulling it from anywhere else. We're still going to have a healthy reserve or account as well. Now, why shouldn't councillors make that? It's a fine balance of doing that, but I would not like to be in a position where officers would like to do the pergola and residents want it happening, but our rules say we can't do it because it's not on a list. So I think we just need to be very careful when we develop those sorts of processes, not to put a straitjacket on officers, not us, on officers making proposals. We have the final say. At the end of the day, we say yes or no. Thank you.
June.
I just sort of respond to that. I'm not suggesting that we work like that. That would be foolish. But I think there needs to be a bit of discipline around it. And as councillors, our jobs are, well, I see my job as to make sure that we're getting value for money and that we are prioritising the right things. And I find the idea that, we've got a biscuit tin of money that we've got some money here, we'll spend it on this, and making that decision in isolation, I find that quite difficult, particularly in the light of for the last 2 years, we've been repeatedly told, oh, it's going to be jolly difficult to find some money to put a couple of extra swings up at Weevil Park because it's going to have an impact here, here and here. And I can't see the kind of, I don't think that's a robust process, and I don't understand how you can make decisions about stuff without knowing everything that's on the table. So I think that's all we're saying, is that once a year, we're going to sit down and look at what's on the table, not to suggest that we're never going to go off-piste, because things will happen. You know, I mean, the stuff we spent over COVID, we would never have said, we're not going to do this because it isn't in the budget. You react to events, but I think you do need a bit of discipline around it, and I don't see that. I don't see that to sit in a committee where everybody's going, where's that come from? You know, to me, that at that point it's a bit late in the day. So that's all I'm saying. Not suggesting we constrict ourselves, but just that we run our budget process like most normal people budget process. So you're thinking ahead. That's all I was saying.
Just 1 second.
Thank you, Jean. Yeah, just to note, some of that will be, or most of that will be covered off through the change in that reporting process, so that all of those projects are shown with a priority against them, and that those are on a maintained list, which you see every time. So you've got context for any other decision that is made against the context of other projects that are either online or coming, and what those.
Yes, sometimes we might be faced with a decision to make that will mean that we'll have to stop doing something else. So we really do need to understand how it all works together, and not say we discovered another biscuit tin.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I do take the point, Councillor Taylor. I think it's a very valid one. I do hope that with the new changes in the way that we are going to be budgeting, and that there will be more, how shall I say, earlier sight of the proposed budget for the following year. And of course, we do have a Strategy and Resources Committee that does meet on a regular basis, that as we look to the forecast from one quarter to the next, we will be making these adjustments within the bounds of what we can do. And I think that is how business always operates, in my experience. Yes, we've got a budget. Yes, there will be some bumps on the road. There will be some opportunities as well. And that's what the forecasting from one quarter to the next is all about. So I think with the adoption of the new processes that Kevin and his team are trying to implement at the moment, yes, it's a learning curve for us all, actually. But I do take your point, actually. We should just pluck it out of thin air and just, shouldn't be a surprise, should it really?
Councillor Kennedy.
Yes, Mayor. I think in an ideal world, when we were first elected 2 years ago, we should have sat down with a 4-year plan and decided these are our objectives. You know, we want to focus on young people. We want to focus on the leisure centre. We want to focus on the theatre. And then when you've got that strategic objective and we know where we're going, we know which direction we're going in, then it becomes easier for us to start planning, rather than having projects just come in left field, as Councillor Taylor has said. Because I think I was the one who raised this when it came up at Strategy and Resources, that we were asked to go down a particular path when it came to the public, in terms of asking the public how we wanted to spend the money. Do we want to go up to X% more on our precept? And then all of a sudden, we're invited to spend £80,000 on a gazebo at the front of the Oakwood Centre. But that's what we ought to have done when we were first elected, set up a 4-year business plan. Then it would have been so much easier.
Right. Do we have any more? Okay. I'll come to you. Sorry, Kester.
Sorry, I was actually agree with Councillor Taylor and Mike as well with the budgeting and having things prioritised. So that Weevil Park sitting there for 2 years and people and public grumbling why it hasn't been done. And most other parks in Woodley look sort of spectacular when you go to Oakwood Centre and see other applications of new swings, up to date and disabled play and that sort of thing. And Weevil Park sits there with a half-empty basketball, rusty, dangerous-looking green. So it's quite frustrating that people ask you something and you can't give an answer or give an idea when it's happening and why it's happening. If we could find a biscuit tin and we would park on it, I'd be very, very happy.
Your third question, Jane.
At the SNR meeting in April, we agreed, or it was agreed that there would be a consultation to seek residents' indicative views on council priorities and support for potential preset levels. And it was made that we wouldn't be asking people to comment on detailed expenditure, and there would be a maximum of 6 questions. In fact, consultation go out. In fact, we haven't asked you questions. We asked what people's views on preset level, what should post. So I have feedback. Sorry, I'm still forgetting to put that on. Feedback from a resident about this. He said, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. He said, because I've got, I can't work out the impact of picking any of those levels. I mean, taking a guess that if it's 0, or indeed anything less than the rate of inflation, we're talking about cutting stuff. But the other 2 values, is that maintaining? Is it enhancing as per the wording? What was that all about? And again, somebody else was saying to me that they'd gone and had a look at the supporting information, which they didn't see was really kind of helping them, and also mentioned it was very, very small. So they were struggling to actually read it. And there was no opportunity for people to flag what their priorities were. So my question on this one is, what happened in between April SNR and getting the thing out the door?
The intention is for there to be a public meeting on the back of the consultation that has happened. So we will be having a public meeting with that. We have had around 1,300 responses to that, where people have been able to provide a response based on the information that was provided. We did include a link on there and a QR code to the website page with the precept information on it and information about the council services. But no, I accept it. It didn't have a tick box for preferred services or priorities for council activities.
Linda.
Because, that was made very clear at the meeting. That was what we wanted to do. And I did follow the links and I did have a look. And the information on precept was really good. It was clear. If you could be bothered to follow the link, you could get some information. But like you, I was quite disappointed that there were no more questions than that. Was that a choice, or was it just how it happened?
It was partly to do with the size of it in terms of putting it out. But yeah, I appreciate that might be
yeah.
I appreciate that, but we did say we were going to do it, so maybe it didn't need to be come.
Linda, you had a question?
Yeah, can I, of the people that responded, what percentage of that is it that would actually come along to a meeting?
Yeah, I don't know how to gauge that from it, so we'll have to.
I think that's an impossible question to answer.
Okay.
Until we actually have
What
it.
percentage normally come to town meetings when you put it out that there's a town meeting come along? Not very many.
We've not held a consultative meeting in that way for a very long time.
Yeah.
Talked about it earlier. The colleagues from Buckingham Borough, when the Woodlands Avenue cycleway, there was a public meeting here, and this hall was full, both of it. So the key for getting people through the door is how you promote. So for instance, using Jones resident as an example, when that person said, you know, oh, I don't have the data, I can't follow it, etc. What we need to say to them, well, that's okay. Come to the public meeting. You can then ask any question you like. And I'm sure you said that, you know, but that's what we need to do. We are part of the promotion as individual councillors for any public event. Clearly, our communications manager, it should be at the core of that promotion. It should be all over social media. If you can get it in the press, that's great. But it can be done, and it was done in that time. Just before I step down, I did want to, can I ask a question now? It's more of a comment. Twice now we've heard about Weeble Park and the lack of facilities. Well, SNR actually approved that, that there would be a budget to pay for that. All right? We absolutely approved it. But we have not had the paperwork to go behind it. I don't know what it is. I don't think you know what it is. Okay, I'm just saying, we're just still waiting. So the implication that Theo and Kester have made was that somehow there wasn't approval for a budget. Well, that's the implication. Maybe I took it wrong, I apologise, right? But there was approval, unanimous approval, and we have yet to get that budget. Now, that's down to officers, I'm afraid. Thank you.
Right, Councillor George, you've had your hand up.
It was just about the consultation, the public meeting. It's the first I've heard of it, and I think that is a lacking in the communication. Partly that, I think maybe because of the, always when people complain, they don't hear me, because we didn't have the SNR meeting. I understand why, but I'm surprised that there hasn't been any interim reporting with that gap in the SNR meetings, because we haven't got one now till November. And you're almost thinking, why were we having one originally if there wasn't anything that was worth discussing or that needed to be sorted out? So I'd like some assurance that, about that, if there will be anything interim, and also how the public consultation will be managed, publicised, etc., etc. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, I'll circulate some information before the next SNR meeting. Can provide an update.
Councillor Hoskins.
Thank you, Chair. Just coming back to what Keith was saying, his analogy between having a room full of people about a speed limit on a road versus a precept survey, I think is, comparing coal with tea towels, really, because people are, they're more passionate about something like that than boring old council tax precept, although that is money in their pocket. I'm moving on. Could I ask councillors that we're a little bit briefer, because I'm falling asleep? Thank you.
Right. Well, on that, I'm going to move on to Kester.
So I'll just make it brief. I'm just going back to Keith's point briefly. I think with Weeble Park getting mentioned, it's only that we've approved the budget. We're still waiting for the lease to be approved by Reading Borough Council. And we all know leases go as quick as the people involved in taking leases forward. So if we can get some updates at regular intervals, maybe where the solicitors are agreeing terms or stuck on some terms that needs to be agreed, they're never going to sell it. So that's something we should not be chasing. But the date to have this lease complete shouldn't be a massive problem by two parties to agree to have this done in the first place.
Yeah. Thank you. Right, I'm going to move on to item 9B now, because we're still on the finance item, and that is simply to note that the council's authorised bank signatories have checked and signed the council's bank reconciliations up to and including the 31st of August 2025. Item 10 on the agenda is to receive the minutes of the committee meetings which have taken place since our last full council meeting. Darren, can I please ask you to present the minutes of the Extraordinary Leisure Services meeting?
Councillors, I'd like to present the meeting of the Extraordinary Leisure Services Committee held on 15th of July on pages 29 and 30. If any councillor should have a comment.
Does anyone have any comments? Assuming we are happy with these minutes are noted. Can I please ask Councillor Sartorel to, in the absence of Councillor Soane, as Deputy Chair, to present the minutes of the Planning and Community Committee?
I'd like to present the minutes of the Planning and Community Committee meeting that was held on the 22nd of July. It can be found between pages 31 and 36. Any questions or comments?
Does anyone have any questions? No, then assuming we are happy with these minutes are noted. Can I please again ask Councillor Sartorel to present the minutes of the Planning and Community meeting on the 26th of August?
Okay, thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to present the minutes of the Planning and Community Committee meeting held on the 26th of August, which can be found on pages between 37 and 43. Are there any questions or comments? Thank you.
Councillor Kennedy, you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Minute 57.1. I have sympathy with Councillor Taylor, who is busy working up her work on the cycle routes. But my question is on Community Speed Watch. I think I did raise with her the issue of Woodlands Avenue. This came to my attention following a meeting I had with residents in the care home, and I put myself forward as a volunteer if you need extra volunteers, June. But if you could add Woodlands Avenue to the list, I know you've got a long list, but that would be. Thank
you. Thank you. Finally, can I ask Councillor Smith again, as Chairman of the Leisure and Services Committee, to present the minutes from that meeting on the 9th of September.
Thank you, Chair. Councillors, I'd like to present the Leisure and Services Committee meeting held on the 9th of September through pages 45 to 50, if any councillor should have a comment.
Councillor Taylor.
Yes, you should.
That they would furnace test and ask whether we'd start work looking at the options and.
I think John's mic is not on.
Sorry? Oh, sorry, Preston.
Yeah, so, yeah, what I was saying was that at the meeting in SNR, Leisure, it was agreed to refer this to SNR and say, can we start working concurrently with the winding up of the lease or arrangements to actually start looking at speccing something out and perhaps, sort of looking at where we're going to get quotes and so forth. Now, I note that on items 14 and 15 of the agenda, these are other items that were due to be discussed at the meetings we've had to cancel, and they've actually been brought forward here. And I'm asking whether it is possible to do the same thing and make a decision about can we actually get cracking on some work in parallel while we're waiting for the lease thing to get sorted out. I would just draw to everybody's attention that Councillor Edwards had actually organised a survey. We talked to a lot of people in the area, so we've got some views there that we can start with. Councillor Charles Bay, some time ago, and at the on the advice of officers, had actually got some quotes for equipment and getting a ballpark figure for improving that. Risk analysis still says that one of the mitigations for risk in the parks is that we've got fencing around all our children's play areas to keep dogs out and so forth. Except we don't. We don't have that at Weeble Park because all the gates have gone. Now, I'm not suggesting we put them back on now, but this has been outstanding for a long while. And it's only recently, and at my behest, that we have taken off our own website a suggestion that we are going to tarmac the area around the sports wall, and that goes back to, I mean, I think it was pre-COVID, so this has been talked about an awful lot, and I am struggling to understand what it is the people of Bournemouth have done that means that, we don't consider their kids worth a decent play area, unlike all the other ones in Woodley. So can we do it?
Yes.
In light of the SNR being postponed, I would support that.
Thank you.
But we do need to remember the caveat why the lease needs to be signed off before, because we actually physically do the work, because if it isn't, we could do a lot of work, a lot of investment, and Reading say, thank you very much, that's really nice for us. Go away, and they could do it, and I'm just saying there's got to be a caveat. Well, why wouldn't they sell it to us? There's a dozen things. Why would Reading Borough Council do things for us? I'm just saying we ought to be cautious, but I agree with your proposal about the growing things concurrently.
Not my proposal, that was the proposal agreed at SNR.
Don't be pedantic.
No, that's
the proposal that you said it was for SNR. Your suggestion is, because we're not having SNR, can we do it here?
Yes.
And I'm supporting you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Chair. I would support. I think we had a good and robust discussion at the last Leisure Services Committee meeting. I wasn't aware actually that we'd missed an SNR meeting, so I'm very happy that the chair of that committee is very happy to support our concurrent arrangement, which will allow our officers to get on and start the business of gathering quotes and looking at the feedback and getting some.
We'll decide what we want to do.
Yeah, and I think, to be fair to the residents of Bournemouth, we're long overdue to do that. So let's get on and start that process and be positive about it, because I think we have an opportunity. I think the likelihood of Reading Borough Council turning around and saying they won't renew this is highly low. So that's not over-egg that risk, because I think it is low. Let's get on and do it.
Well, can I propose that we take a vote on that from the committee? We've got the agreement of the chair of SNR, the agreement of the chair of Leisure Services. That
I would propose that then, please, if someone can second it.
And you're second that. Lovely. So can all those in favour please raise their hands?
Thank you, Chair.
All those against? And do we have any abstentions?
Thank you.
Right. So that has been passed. June, okay.
I was just say that the point that Keith made about doing work. I mean, any work should be subject to terms and conditions and getting the contract done. So I don't think any work we've done before the lease has been signed will be out of pocket if we have a contract saying it's subject to any work's been done. That's all.
That's all.
Absolutely. The work that will be done will be consultation work and costing, so that we've got a project plan.
Excellent.
Right, thank you. Well, moving on to item 11 on the agenda. It's to receive the external auditor's opinion on the audit of the annual governance and accountability return for 24-25. This was not received until after the agenda was issued, and a copy has been circulated to all members. Kevin, can you set this up, please?
Yes, of course. So that has been circulated subsequently to members. I'm very pleased to say that there's a clean auditor's opinion. They have no issues with the AGAR at all. There are a couple of comments that they did provide, which comments that don't affect the opinion, but to which they wish to draw members' attention. Those to do with the council having not provided evidence of the internal auditor's work programme and independence, which is, I'm taking that up with them because we did provide that information, unless there's something else that they've asked for, which we haven't provided, but it's rather vague. So I'm taking that up. So that's to myself.
Are there any questions regarding this? Then can we please move to a vote on receiving the external auditor's opinion on the audit? All those in favour, please raise your hands.
Thank you, Chair. 17-4.
Can all those against please raise their hands?
None.
Can all those who wish to abstain please raise their hands?
That's none.
No, then the external auditor's opinion has been duly received. Item B, following on from that, 11B is to formally adopt the audited annual governance and accountability return for 24-25. I intend to proceed straight to a vote. Can all those in favour please raise their hands? Can all those against please raise their hands?
None.
And all those who wish to abstain please raise their hands.
None.
Thank you. In that case, the audited AGAR for 24-25 is formally adopted. Item C is simply to note when the notice of conclusion of audit was displayed on public notice boards at the Oakwood Centre and on the Council's website. Can you provide an update, please, Kevin?
That was published on the 29th, which is before the required day of the 30th. But just to note, we only received that auditor's opinion it's about 7:45 on the 27th on the Sunday night. We had been chasing for it, but it's been coming a little later the last couple of years.
Right. Next item on the agenda is to receive a statement from the Leader of the Council, Councillor Baker. Would you like to make a statement, Kit?
Thank you, Chair. In the interest of it being getting late, there will be no statement from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 13, we've got on the agenda is to consider the appointment of the Council's internal auditor for 25-6 and 26-7 financial years. And I'll hand over to Kevin to explain.
Thank you, Chair. So this, as I mentioned previously, is to appoint the internal auditor for the next 2 financial years. We've done it previously for a period of 3 years. We've had April skies for 3 years up to this point. They've been very, very useful. It's 2 years on this occasion because Mike Platton's retiring, but he's agreed to do 2 years for us before we would then seek a different provider for that service.
Yep. Are there any questions at all?
Is the fee for year 2 the same as year 1?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Right. In the absence of any questions, we'll now proceed to a vote. Can all those in favour please raise their hands?
That's 17-4.
Can all those against please raise their hands?
That's none.
And any abstentions?
That's none.
In that case, the internal auditor has been approved. Item 14 on the agenda is to consider report number SR 2125, provided on page 58 of the agenda, with regards to the Council's climate emergency commitments. Kevin, can you please set this out?
Yes, of course. So just by way of background, since October 2019, when the Council declared climate emergency and with the name of, or the commitment to achieving carbon neutrality by 2030. Last year, the council approved an assessment and some measuring of where we are and where we're going through a company called Carbon Footprint Limited. That was reported back to Strategy and Resources in April. Following that, we have from Carbon Footprint Limited a target setting report, which was provided in the S&R agenda. The purpose of that is to provide a roadmap for the council to achieve that target. Within that report, which is the 2023-24 year as a baseline for our carbon footprint, there are some recommendations for reducing emissions by 50% by 2033, by 90% by 2050, with an offset of any residual emissions at that point. There are some actions within that report which we are working through to largely our procurement and drilling down to everything we buy and what the profile of that is from a carbon perspective. Looking at transport opportunities, EV charging, commuting, and other things within our general operations. Obviously, we've done quite a lot of that work already through our Climate Emergency Action Plan. The action plan was updated significantly in April 24. That now needs updating in the context of this report in order that we can focus on those actions to actually reach those targets. In order to monitor and measure that progress, it's proposed to use the online platform that's provided through Carbon Footprint Limited, which would provide us with consistency in terms of the way that's measured and to enable us to reach those targets. There's a cost for that, which is for a 2-year monitoring period, where essentially we monitor every single thing we buy, and there are formulas against all of those things which measure that and give us options and actions to bring that carbon footprint down. There is a cost of that, £7,600 for that 2-year period, and there is a proposal here that be met from the Climate Emergency Earmarked Reserve, which was set up for the council's activities in combating climate change, which would leave there's currently £16,113 available in that earmarked reserve. Finally, there are some options around offsetting in terms of when the council wishes to do that. There is a difference there between carbon neutrality and net zero, i.e. one is just offsetting, the other is to do a genuine reduction of activities and carbon footprint with some offsetting only of residual carbon emissions at the end of that period. So there's 3 options there. For some kind of context, you could do it from that 23-24 period onwards, and there's a costing there that they've provided of between sort of £2,000 and £5,000, which essentially means you have offset it at that point. You can reach your target, but you pay for it. There are some other options. You can do it later. You can do it in that middle term. You could leave it until the 2029-30 year, which aligns with the council's neutrality goal and provides us with an opportunity to take some of those actions, and would also reduce the financial cost of it, because you'd only be offsetting the residue at the end of that period, not this period. But obviously, it just means you reach your goal a little later. So those are the options that are included in the recommendation in that report. There might be some questions.
Right. Are there any questions at all? Councillor Smith, you were first, I think.
Probably worth considering at this point, whilst 65% of your greenhouse gas emissions are through third-party supplier spend through procurement, maybe worth considering at this early stage carrying out a sustainability maturity assessment of those suppliers, or certainly those larger spend suppliers, to find out if they're already measuring their greenhouse gas scopes 1 through 3, because that will lead you to target those suppliers as a follow-up, actually, to obtain their primary data rather than their spend data, which is a good baseline
greenhouse gas protocols and what have you, and is the minimum. But actually, a little bit of work up front now will probably help you with that primary data, and that will also reduce because actually those coefficients are quite high actually. So,
That next stage.
Great.
Assessment through that platform.
yeah, because it's not as daunting as you think it is. If you need some advice, I'll be very happy to give it to you. But it's not as daunting as you think, and it will get you ahead now, rather than waiting another 2 or 3 years for the European Union to get their act together and then, force everybody through regulation to do it. That's of course if the UK adopts that approach, or I guess it will do. But by doing a little bit of extra work now, I think you could steal the march on that, and it won't be so it's not such a big thing.
Yeah, just as some context, that's the part of how we came to the data in that first report. Was we provided a lot of data about our suppliers and spend against certain areas. Obviously, the next step, which is that a lot more in depth, and then drilling down to those suppliers, as you said, what their profile is, and actually to make sure we're buying from.
And then, of course, those ones that haven't done anything, you want to try and help them. But I have to say that what you're paying is actually pretty cheap in terms of support for that. So I think well.
Right. Robert, you next.
Thanks, David. It's 5 to 10, and I think we ought to be mindful of the costs involved in this as well. I know this says for 2 years, and Bob's simplistic math. If we had to do that right the way through to 2050, that's nearly 100 grand we'd have to spend in fees, assuming they don't go up. Have I missed something here?
Chairman, can I, since we are 5 minutes before the end time, can I propose that, I've forgotten what the rule is, we extend this meeting?
Extend the meeting, yes. I've been monitoring that. You're supposed to, have I got a seconder for that? Darren. So can we put that to the vote that we continue this meeting on to the maximum of 10:30? All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? Any abstentions? Then we will continue and we'll try and get this done. Councillor Jewell.
Thank you very much. I'm really pleased to see we're making progress on this. Most people know in 2018. Got the green. We've got monitoring, what we're doing is really important, monitoring and measuring and going back and having a look again, and which is why I think the carbon footprint is important to measure. I wonder if we could ask the question of the consultants as to if there's a programme or some way in which we could offer residents the way to measure their carbon footprint that we could put on our website. It's all very well for the town council to be doing that, but I think if you compare that with 30,000 people out there that could be also measuring their carbon footprint and making savings, I think it would really help.
Okay.
Just to say that we've got quite a lot of signposting and information on the Climate Hub on the website, but I'll check on there and see if that's something that we can find and add, because that will exist somewhere, I'm sure.
Right. Are we going to vote on the options?
Yes, you got. If you want to take those in turn.
All right. Sorry. 358. Right.
Could I propose that we go for option 3, just to get it going?
Sorry.
Could I propose that we go for option 3?
Do we have a seconder?
Third
for that, Karen? So, yes, well, then can we vote on that? All those in favour of option 3? Okay.
Okay, thank you. That's 15.
Anyone against? Any abstentions?
2 abstentions.
Right. So,
So that's
right.
that's the last.
That's the last one. Biddy.
Yeah. So we've got this one and this one to do.
Right, okay. Recommendation is that members approve the updating of the Council's Climate Emergency Action Plan to account for the recommendations within Carbon Footprint's Target Setting Report, with an updated draft to be submitted to a future Strategy and Resources Committee meeting for approval. So, can...
I suggest we take 1, 2 and 3 together.
Yep.
Just to speed things up.
Yep. Item 2 is that members approve the use of 7,600 from the Council's Climate Emergency earmark reserve to fund the use of an online system for checking and verifying the Council's carbon footprint for 25/6 and 26/7, and that members consider when they wish the Council to commence offsetting its market-based greenhouse gas emissions, allocating funding as necessary. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Yeah. Any against? Any abstentions? No.
All right.
Right. Well, we're trying to get through these last couple of items as quickly as possible. Item 15 on the agenda is to consider the recommendation from the Leisure Services Committee to fund the implementation of a new leisure management system at Woodford Park Leisure Centre, which has been brought to full council following the cancellation of the last Strategy and Resources Committee. As this was a recommendation from Leisure Services, Councillor Smith, would you like to set this out?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. If you have read the report on page 61, you'll get a bit of background as to why we are looking to do this. Basically, the current teams are fielding about 2,500 manual inquiries a month or thereabouts, all manually by telephone or bits of paper. And customers, of course, or residents are genuinely frustrated at the fact that it's taking so long to book their classes and services. And unfortunately, over the years, we've just not brought that service into line with modern expectations. I guess a further backdrop to this would be the fact that, you know, the sports facilities that we have are very, very popular. And every year, if you're on the Leisure Services Committee, you will realise that, you know, capacity is increasing, or the use of that capacity is increasing. So we're at a point now where we're sitting at very comfortably about 90% or so in terms of overall capacity, but we just can't really climb that anymore if we wanted to, because we're just focusing so much on that manual admin. Now, I guess the controversial bit to this is, whilst there's an investment in capital, there is also an investment in running costs as well, which is about £18,000 a year, which is about £1,500 in order to maintain that system and to run it as part of that licence. But it does bring us into line with other councils and other facilities who operate the same sort of system. And a lot of work has been done by Ed, who manages all of that in terms of coming up with that recommendation. I would like to implement it now so that we can be prepared to, you know, look at how we can then increase our services across leisure, but also as we sort of expand leisure services, we include more youth activities. You know, we'll be able to leverage that more in a way that people expect us to, by using their phones and online banking apps and all the usual stuff that goes on that we can't currently do now. So that is basically the crux of it. Does any councillor have any questions?
Councillor Baker, you had a question?
Yes, Keith.
Yeah, more of a proposal, an additional item. It's to do It's there in black and white that there is an estimated saving of 400 relating to retirement redundant systems. I think that definitely can be quantified. Then there's a £200 a month as an estimate annual increase as well. That is not necessarily as fixed as the redundant. So that's 6% happens. That's £600. That means a loss of net £900 a month. I understand that Ed has not increased the gym membership for, I think it's 5 years, isn't it, Kevin? Or is it for a very long time? What I would like to propose is a third recommendation that refers back to the Leisure Services Committee to investigate the opportunity. Bearing in mind it hasn't been increased, the gym membership has not been increased for more than 5 years, it could even be 10 years, by £1. There's 800 members, simple maths. If you do it, 800, you're effectively wiping out the additional cost. It becomes neutral. And an extra £1 when you have not had an increase for 5 to 10 years, I think is perfectly reasonable. But the extra recommendation would be to refer it back to the Leisure Services Committee to investigate that. I think Ed would probably be positive, but that's up to the Leisure Services Committee to talk to him with a view of making the cost neutral. By the way, I fully support this action here because it's actually bringing us, I think, into the 21st century.
It's bringing us up to date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, you wanted to say something?
Can I just say that activity will be carried out through as we do this budgeting process for next year.
Specifically spent that the full council has asked for that.
I mean, absolutely. All I'm saying is it will be considered through the budgeting process because I know it's looking at that in the context of income charges over the year.
Part of the budgeting process to make sure it's included after we've had our next Leisure Services meeting. So,
Juliet.
Can I just clarify? This is the computer online system. There isn't an app associated with it so you can book your session?
Yes.
There is an app.
It does. It includes the app, online payment, all that sort of thing, all the sort of things you would expect. There's a bit more detail in the report, but if you'd like to, I don't know if...
That's right. So I'm really supportive of it. What are we going to do with the people's time then? Because that frees up 2,000 interactions per month these people are not going to be doing. So can we utilise them in a different way, or are we going to wait for a bit of natural wastage until they go and not replace them? What's the plan?
Probably a combination of that. I know Ed has a plan for other things they can certainly be doing in terms of improving the service of the centre and being able to carry out additional activities there, which at the moment they can't because they're tied to what they're doing. But yes,
I want to understand what that is because that is a resource that we are freeing up and we're not utilising, and that has another financial implication. So it would be good to understand what they're going to be doing because I guess a lot of them are administrators.
Actually, there's a combination of people that are providing services and classes and administration. So I think depending on how that pans out and the increase in the numbers they're expecting with some of the other classes they're bringing on, that may take up some of the slack. But if it doesn't, then there will have to be a more harder discussion about how, how we resource them and allocate them. But we're hoping that actually by doing this, we'll be able to, reposition them elsewhere to provide better services. But it's one of those situations where we'll have to do it because it's the right thing to do. But secondly, we'll have to then take a look after 6 or 12 months through the budgeting process to see if it's, because if those people aren't doing anything, there's no point employing them. So,
and I would recommend that we look at their skills, let's look at the skills analysis, see who actually is making bookings, if it's the right people, and attendance administrators, then what's the skill set and what could we turn them to?
What could they be
But if
turned
it's the
to?
wrong people
Yeah.
making those bookings, people that could be utilised to deliver classes, happy days.
Happy days, yeah, exactly. I understood it was a mixture of the two, so I guess it's all hands on deck when on that Tuesday of each week when they're all doing it. But yeah, okay.
Councillor Hawkins, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of hours ago, I mentioned about inclusivity, and what's the QR code? Will every gym member have a smartphone and be able to do it? So if you can't actually get onto an app and book in your exercise Pilates class, will you still have the opportunity to telephone and book it?
Yes,
and have
is the answer to that.
a
Yes,
plastic card with a QR code on.
you can still book it over the phone like you would do if that's what you're used to doing. But we try and encourage people to use the modern technology. So.
Yeah, I know it flagged up in the report that that's one of the cons is a reduction in that sort of personal level of service as well. So he's kind of allowing for that and would expect that to continue for those that need it.
No? Right.
I think my husband having joined this when he retired at Christmas, it is a slow process to book something. And actually, you know, he's not a Luddite, but he's not amazing with wisdom, but he can manage this. And I think a lot of people would want
No,
this
I
is
think
how every other gym operates.
this is how another gym operates.
Yeah, well,
It's the right thing to do.
So-
look, it's getting late, so let's not argue about that.
Take a vote.
Keith, listening to your proposal, Keith, obviously that will be an enforcement on leisure.
It is not. It is asking leisure services, because you will meet before SNR,
Yes, we will.
and the recommendation will be coming to SNR, that they look at the possibility and the effectiveness of increasing the gym membership by £1 because it hasn't been increased by 10 years. Now, leisure services may decide, no, we don't want to do that. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't want to leave it to now, the system's going this and it may happen, it may not. I want to specifically see leisure services have that as an agenda item so that when their recommendation comes to SNR, they will say exactly whether leisure services supports that increase to offset some cost.
Right.
And that will give the data, but the SNR committee to make the appropriate decision.
I agree to that being added to our agenda.
Right, okay. So let's take it to the vote then. All those in favour of the proposal as set out by Leisure Services? And
That's Keith.
together with Keith. All right. Thank you. Are there any against?
None.
Abstentions? Lovely. Right, outside bodies. Item 16B is to note that Councillor Gutteridge has stood down for her appointment as the Town Council representative to Redibus and for the Council to appoint a replacement. As indicated in the agenda, Councillor Bay has indicated he would like to be considered. Are there any other nominations apart from Councillor Bay? No. Then, yeah, can we? Oh, well, yeah, we go to the vote. Everyone raise their hands who wants Councillor Bay to be nominated.
Go for it.
Thank you. Any against? Any abstentions? No? Good. Right, item B are the reports on page 64, which are quite conclusive. There is one missing from me for the Robert Palmer Almshouses, but their next meeting is not until the 9th of October. So I've got nothing to put there.
I'm sorry, in one of my reports, I think that I probably made a mistake. In the, I should have said the number for the meeting was 3. And the only one to yes, one, I suppose, Sheila and myself.
Right.
Sorry about that. So,
Right. Item 17 on page.
I've just looked on page 77. Bill Soames responds to the Wokingham Town Centre Strategy Working Group, and he was invited to 0 meetings, and therefore he's, in light of earlier, I think there's a misconnect here. There's something. Can you go back and say what's going to Bill and to them, saying what's going on?
Yep. Right.
Thank you.
Page 18 highlights my functions as town mayor, and one I would say though is on the 8th of July, the Woodley Schools cluster, I was actually on holiday, and Darren did that on my behalf. Given the time, I won't go into details about those. Item 18, any future agenda items? No. Item 19, any publicity or the website? Councillor Jewell.
I received an email from Matt about the carbon footprint thing that I was asking about, and he said that Carbon Footprint, the company, do provide a calculator for individuals to use on their website, and that's included in our climate emergency web pages. In view of that, I wonder if we could actually put a pointer on the front page to the climate action,
It's already in there.
following on from tonight's meeting.
Yep, that's done. Juliet.
So can I just bring up the publicity and website? We've had a meeting for the publicity group, if you like, and I'm heartened to see so many press releases having been released since June. That's great, but I would ask the officer, Kevin, could you just go back and ask how many of those translated into actual pieces being published anywhere? Because she's clearly working really hard on getting stuff out. And I've seen a few things on social media, but I wonder if it's gone anywhere else.
Yep.
Thank you.
Can I social media posts, the council's got to be careful of how they are put on social media so we don't upset certain groups that we don't have any control over. So it'd be useful if councillors could share, like and share, follow, whatever, Woodley Town Council post and share them to any other social groups they belong to. Within me.
In answer to Juliet's question, Juliet, I would say that if you look at the press releases, the one for, whereabouts, it's vanished, the one about the VJ Day celebrations, that was gone, yeah. That resulted in Watts TV contacting me and Kevin, and I had an interview with them about the VJ Day celebration. So that is getting out. Yeah.
My point is, there are a lot, and she's putting an awful lot of effort in. And is that effort being?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's no she engages directly with those.
I mean, there's success. The party in the park, very successful.
The event was really successful, and the pieces are lovely and really good, but I just want to understand where they're going.
Yeah. But the mayor's quiz, also, there's 20 tickets left.
Yeah, I mean, that's publicity rather than press release, but yeah.
Well, there was a press release on it, and you know, it is on social media.
It's all over social media. It's not on social media.
Yeah.
And where else they go, but it's a good show.
Yeah.
If anybody has tickets for the quiz.
Yep, get them now. Otherwise, you'll miss out.
Thank you.
Yep.
Quickly on the same, could we possibly do some press clippings and have them available in a book in the offices so that we can come and have a look? I know that's not easy to do. You can have services out there, but they're costly. But, you know, I don't get newspapers anymore. No, I agree, but I'm saying it's a result, like that data. That's all I'm saying.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry it's dragged on somewhat tonight, but at 10:20, I'm calling this meeting to a close. Thank you.
Great, thank you.